It's rare to find a craftsman that takes his work all the way to the root. In order to make this, Matt Rozler of St. Lawrence County starts outside with this.
I became first interested in woodworking through my father, Bob Rozler, and my grandfather, John Tamel. They were certainly the first inspiration for me. With woodworking, as most of us know it, but the cutting the trees and the sawmill side comes from my uncle, Tom Jackson. I spent a lot of time cutting down trees with him.
Since retiring from the New York State Police in 2020, Rozler is focused on his business 100%. From artful yet practical pieces on display at Tawney and Canton to cabinetry or cutting boards, his work is in demand. With a shop full of tools, both modern and old school, Rozler digs in. His endgame is to produce a piece that boasts no hardware at all. But to get there is a multi-step process.
My woodworking process, I try to focus on being natural. My process is to start with a standing tree and cut it down and into a log, bring it into my sawmill, turn it into lumber, and I can turn it into lumber in several different ways in the sawmill, and then I'll kiln dry it. After it's kiln dried, then I can make a finished product with it. I like a clear finish, and I like to show off the natural grain and the natural quality of the wood. And I like to build with native lumber. There's hand saws that I use, and there's also power saws that I use, and same with sanding. There's hand sanding, and there's techniques for that. You use a block sander, sometimes just your hand and a piece of sandpaper, but other times different kinds of power sanders. I think my initial inspiration is from my father and my grandfather, but I also had other inspirations along the way that shaped the way I like to woodwork. My shop teacher, John Driscoll, he had techniques that I hadn't learned before, so I learned those techniques. And PBS star Norm Abram changed a lot of the way both my father and I built, because it's the use of modern techniques with traditional joinery. And in the end, I'm able to make a traditional looking piece using modern power tools.
Part of craftsmanship includes the challenge involved with a particular piece. When Matt is charged with building something he's never done before, he has to step out of his comfort zone. But as he explains, it's a zone that's needed to build something really great.
Particularly now that I build for my customers, I'm constantly taking risk, because I'm not taking my inspiration and trying to make a finished piece. I'm using my customer's inspiration and trying to make the piece that they envision. That can be challenging sometimes, and I can end up doing something I've never done before with wood. For me, woodworking embodies hardworking and practicality. To me, I'm not so much an artist as I am a craftsman. And that's what I like about woodworking, is I can make practical items. The practical items I'm talking about would be like tables and chairs, furniture, but other things too that people want. I recently just built a patio bar. So I can make things that people desire that aren't necessarily just artistic, but they're something that we use.
Even better, it's something that can be used and made with local resources.
I think the way that it serves the community on a greater scale is that it can be unique to where we live. So that I use native lumber, and any woodworker that uses native lumber can bring an identity to an area. So I think in that way it's important. I also think that the practicality of what I build is important because people can use it.
Despite a change in times and the world seemingly in a hurry, time slows down with a handcrafted piece. And fortunately, this kind of work is still very much appreciated. In St. Lawrence County for WPBS Weekly, I'm Jolene DeRosier.